November 19th, 2020. I'm here with Michael Carroll. This is Kourosh-khoylou. And yeah, it's good to be here. It's good to be quarantined, going to purple tier here in San Diego.
I heard about that.
I'm not too sure what that even means.
I think it's the highest level, right?
Is it the highest level? Purple?
Yes. I don't know why purple is the highest level, but I'm almost certain that purple is the highest level.
You'd think it'd be black or red.
Or red, yeah. I don't know why purple, but it's definitely the highest level, I'm pretty sure.
Is that an interstate thing, or is that just
I think it's
like, does Nebraska have that?
I think all counties are like purple, technically speaking. Yeah, so it's everybody, all the states.
Federally
and then,
mandated?
yes, apparently.
But do you think that Nebraska might not mandate that, like the elected officials?
We have actually had a lot of cases recently, and they actually shut down sports for like a while, which they had everything going as normal for a while. So that was interesting because Lincoln hadn't stopped anything, but they just put a 3-week work stop on it. So I'm assuming they're starting to take it a little bit more seriously with the cases rising.
What sports? High school or college?
High school.
Pee-wee.
College is still going. It's high school. I think just all like young or youth sports, I believe. So high school. The only thing about like club sports is clubs can do whatever the hell they want if they take the risk, but high schools are mandated by the state, obviously. So you have to go based on that.
So like what club sports? Like club soccer?
Club soccer, volleyball, club basketball, like those types of things.
Pretty crazy time to be a high schooler.
Yes. Like doing virtual class and stuff like that too. I don't think I could do that.
No.
I'd be going insane.
I'd be going insane.
Yes.
I mean, high school was all right. Tutorial was pretty good.
Tutorial was sick.
Tutorial was great. Did you have a like specific tutorial? I don't even remember many tutorials.
I know senior year went to Veter every year, or junior.
Junior year went to Veter. It's really chill, mellow, didn't do anything.
Senior year went to Westling all the time, right?
That's what we did.
Just played poker.
Yes. Poker, water pong.
Yes.
A lot of photo tutorials.
Mm-hmm.
I had did you have sixth period?
I think I had third period.
I think sixth period was her least favorite. She really, really didn't like. That was a pretty interesting class.
She was fucking insane.
She was very, very insane. Not bad, but different.
She just kind of, yeah, she's definitely different. But Miss Johnson, right?
Miss Johnson, yeah. Miss Johnson. Oh yeah, now I remember Miss Johnson.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Miss Johnson.
What a crazy high school, dude.
Yeah.
Now.
10 years ago. I know, that's nuts. We're coming up on 10-year reunion, which is crazy.
10-year reunion.
Yeah.
Years since I put on pads was almost exactly to this time.
Yeah. It's very true. Right around this time.
Yes.
It's a long time ago.
Lots changed in America over the last 10 years.
Yes, too much.
Too much? What makes you say that?
Well, not necessarily. Just growing. I feel like just for me, like in life, more than anything, I can't speak to the world, which that's changed quite a bit too. But
yeah, it has.
Just me and growing up and getting older, like I don't know, things start to slow down and click more, if that makes sense. Like things start to make sense a little bit more. I don't know if that makes any sense to you.
Things slow down and make sense over the ages.
Yeah, I just feel like you become more like, if you look back and think about decisions that you made when you were 20 years old, like you're like, oh my God, what the hell was I doing? You just like think about it. You're like, you become more wise because you learn about the stupid decisions you made or the past mistakes you made or whatever. And
so many.
I don't know. I just feel like you have a different perspective. I think that's the best way to put it. Better perspective.
Was there a certain period, a much better perspective through a lot more experiences?
Yes.
Time.
For sure.
Like crucial experiences in college and post college, even entering the workforce, it can be pretty tough just entering the real world, transitioning out of school.
You don't have anything, you don't know, you have like an idea of what it's going to be like, but you really have no idea.
No idea.
Zero idea.
And it's like slowly a lot of ties from school. Definitely kind of, people are leaving California and it's tougher to keep in contact with people over the years. They get significant others.
Yes.
So it's like, it changes more and more.
For sure. Yeah, it's crazy. And people are in different states and yeah, like I think it's weird too, because like high school or college, I know a lot of high school people aren't married yet, but a lot of my college friends are all married and they're like starting to have babies and stuff. And it's just weird because I'm in such a different phase of my life, but we're all the same age, but we're all in different phases of life. People are buying houses and, getting married, having kids. Like one of my buddies, he's 26 and he lives out in the country in South Dakota, has a house, has 2 kids, another on the way. It's like nuts. Just crazy to think about.
26.
26, yeah.
And you said a lot of people from your high school haven't married. It's because you went to high school in California.
Yes.
And college in Nebraska.
Yes. I think that speaks to California versus Nebraska, the values and what they value. I think that's just the norm around here is people getting married early, like right out of college or right when they get out of college, or even we had some that were married like senior year of college, but right out of college, like they meet their girlfriend and then they get married. And there's no like, I don't know, it's weird. It's crazy. It's not a bad thing. It's just different from California. I feel like I wonder if having, like, especially growing up in Orange County, the idea of like success and like wanting to progress your life and career and be financially stable plays a massive role into why people don't get married early, as opposed to like, here where it's like that's not really important, the materialistic side of things. So I wonder if that plays a role into that too, which I'm assuming it does.
I would assume it does too. Definitely a lot more. I mean, I don't know much about Nebraska, but
yeah,
there is a lot of materialism and drive for success.
Yeah.
And kids are expensive.
Yes.
Time and money.
Yes. Kids, and then I think like the other thing is with relationships, I feel like it's and I've caught myself in this a lot since I broke up with Rachel. Like you always kind of want to know what's the next best thing. Like, and so you jump from person to person and then you can't really figure out like what you really want. And I struggle with that. Like with Lexi, like I had to kind of figure that out. It took me a while to figure out I wanted to be with her, but I think that's like a big part of, especially in California, like why a lot of people don't just get married right away, or they stay in long relationships because they don't know for sure if that's a person they want to be with, but they're just comfortable, don't make the leap. I don't know. I think that definitely played a role for me. I know that for a fact.
It plays a role for me too. And I read a book this year. It was called Why Can't I Fall in Love? And in that, he talks about being scared, being just like, is this person good enough for me? You know, they do this little thing that I don't necessarily like, and I can, you know, play on that and make it a huge deal.
For sure.
And people do that. I've done that. It's like this small little thing that will not be a big deal within like a grand scheme of a marriage, say, or long-term relationship.
Yeah.
And you just play it over in your head. You're like, this person does this, I can't be with them. You know, imagine they do it's
for sure.
Yeah.
I've caught myself in that multiple times, and I think like the one reason I always came back to Lexi, for example, is like she like as long as you just talk about it with that person, like she's very open-minded and will more than like, you know, kind of be open to hearing about how to, like, she's not ever, you know, a lot of girls, you talk to them about someone, they just something and they just go like, what the fuck, and start going crazy. Like, she's very opposite of that. So I think that plays a huge role, because you can like kind of talk about it like, hey, this is something that's kind of bothering me or concerning about or whatever, and I don't like want to make it a big deal, but can you just make me feel better about this, or can we just talk about it? And she's like open to those ideas. And then also, like, one thing I've really pushed myself with my relationship too is like, it's okay that people are different, like, and people are gonna like different things. Like, it's not like they don't have to do everything or like everything you like, or do the same things you want, or do things the way you want it to be done. Like, that's okay. Like, but the things that are valuable are like the emotional side of relationships, which is massively huge, and then I think physical, obviously, but I think those two things outweigh all the stupid random like things that are just like you want to pick at, and then you find a way to just sabotage your relationship because of
sabotage.
Self-sabotage.
Self-sabotage. And the emotional part is huge. And you don't have to be the same person. Like most women I've had a relationship with, they were not that similar to me in senses. And that's something I've been like, all right, that's just, I guess that's how it's been. So that's how it is. And it's better than forcing something, which
for sure
I've done. And it's better to just let that thing be more of a natural flow, at least in my opinion.
For sure.
And that doesn't even apply to necessarily just your relationship with a significant other. That can apply to relationships with more or less everybody.
Friends and family.
Friends and, you know, family and acquaintances. It's like they can, you know, if they're not serving you emotionally well, and they're, you know, demeaning, or maybe it's hard to find someone demeaning or malicious, but there are people out there.
Yeah.
And it's tough to be with them.
For sure.
But actually, the book I read, Why Can't I Fall in Love? He made this great point about your significant other, in the sense that that's the only member of your family that you choose.
Mm-hmm.
You don't choose your parents, your siblings, your children, but you choose your significant other, and that has it's part of the connection and part of the significance of the connection. It's not like this is your parent or your child where it's just like, I have to love this person because it's just the best thing to do. It's like, this person chose to love me, and I'm choosing to love this person as and be with each other forever. And that's a huge choice.
For sure. I think to that point though too, I also feel like that's like to what you said, like something you have to really understand though, because I've caught myself where I feel like I had to love someone, and that's why I stayed with someone for so long, you know? So it's like you can easily get caught, and obviously you see it all the time. People are unhappy in their relationships or unhappy in their marriages, and because they're stuck and they don't really know how to get out of it. And they feel like they have to because they're going to let one person down. So I think that's also like the flip side of it is I've seen it, and I've been in that situation where you're just kind of stuck and you don't really know how to get out of it. So I think like the thing that I've learned the most, I'd say, just in my bouncing around and just having different relationships and experiences is like you have to but best way to put it, I think you have to, it's like anything, like you have to practice and you have to really work at it for it to be successful. Like you can't just think it's going to naturally be okay. You know what I mean? Like you can't just be okay. You have to work on it. You have to practice. You have to study it. Like you have to really know how to, like it's going to be days where it sucks and you're annoyed and you don't really want to be next to that person, but like that's the only thing that makes it, like you have to go through those things in order for it to be successful. I don't know. That's definitely what I've learned. It's, I think, especially like through like being this whole quarantine thing, like she's pretty much lived with me and I've lived with her. We've literally just been back and forth almost since March, which is awesome being that we're long distance. But it's been like a really cool experience because we've had our little tiffs, you know, but at the same time, it's like we both had to choose like to work on it and I've historically in the past, I've easily to kind of push those things away and like, all right, I'm annoyed at this thing. I'm going to stop talking to you for a little bit. And like, that's kind of been my way of like, just like not dealing with it. But I think dealing with it actually makes the relationship way stronger, if that makes any sense. Even if it's not something you want to talk about, you have to just talk about it and deal with it for it to be better.
Yes, dealing with it, talking about it is not easy. Living with someone is not easy.
No, not at all.
No, not at all. It's really a test of your patience, their patience, your love, their love, willingness to, like you said, talk about it, sit down, compromise, figure out what they value in this life together, what you value, and how you can make the best out of it for the both of you, for the both of anyone. It's tough. It's really tough.
Yeah. It's not easy. But I think like the other thing that I think has helped is just like she's been in a ton of experiences or relationships, and I have too, and she's super open-minded to just like listening and just like understand. Like I've never been with anybody like that, where I've never gotten shit thrown at me or like, you know, just the crazy shit that's happened sometimes or yelled at. Like it's never ever like that. It's always like a calm demeanor, like let's talk about it, like let's just fix it and make sure everything's cool. And like it's such a different approach, and it makes me want to like, okay, like I can talk about it. And I found myself though then self-sabotaging because I try to relate my past relationships to what she's going to do and like think that she's going to be the same way and put that on her when it's not anything she's ever showed me. So it's they're so the relationships are fucking so complex and crazy. It's nuts. But
So complex.
yes.
Oh man, and there's no there's there's no simple answer to anything.
No. Not
Hard
at all.
work, time, effort, consistently just always being there.
For sure.
And it's kind of like work. I mean, it's a lot more enjoyable in the sense there's a lot more rewards, I feel like, but in the sense of like work,
Yeah.
you know, you're there and there are times where it's great and being there is chill and the flow is really easy. And there are times where you have to just go at it, hammer it.
Yep.
But it's way less rewarding than what from a relationship with a significant other. Within, I feel, at least on the West Coast, like you said, marriage, now that you're in Nebraska, it's a lot, but I feel like on the West Coast, marriage has been something that was, you know, in history, it seems to have been a pretty foundational pillar to being a human within society for pretty much all societies. You marry someone and you have children with them, and that's just life.
Yep.
There's no question about it. You're not like, are you going to have children? Are you going to have a wife? It's just like, it's kind of in the sense your college acquaintances, your college friends, you know, where it's not really a question. It's like, you're going to get married, you're going to have children, might as well do it now. And like you pointed out earlier, there are a lot of aspirations here to succeed, make money, be in, you know, intelligent, well-read, yada, yada, yada. And I don't even know, that does play a part because people, including myself, have been like, no, I gotta make some money before I bring children into this world. But I feel like at the same time, there's been a lot of questions thrown out within our generation on the West Coast about whether marriage, the act of having children, is necessary, is, you know, the best option for you, and it has caused a lot of people to just put this off to the side, you know, not even consider it. What was that?
Worry about it later.
Worry about it later. And then before you know it, you know, we're in our late 20s, early 30s, and it's like, it's difficult because now it's tough to build that love, that trust that you've worked through this year. And, you know, just I find it interesting that for most of history, people didn't question whether they were going to get married or have children. Now we do. And, you know, I don't know if it's good or bad. What do you have an opinion?
No, I mean, I think it's really up to the own that each person. Like, I don't think it should be a necessary thing to define someone either way. I do feel like the children thing, like 100%, I understand. Like, I want children, but I've contemplated like, does it make sense for me to have children? I don't know. But I definitely do want to have children, but I still always contemplate like, do I really want to? I don't know. Anyways, but the marriage thing, like, I feel like in order to be happy, like, you probably would like to be with someone long term, or else you're going to be super lonely. Like maybe when you're in your early 30s, late 20s, like mid 30s, even 40s, like you're okay. But when you're old, what's going to happen? Like, and who's going to take care of you, especially if you don't have kids? Like, I don't know. So I think more like long term. I don't know if that's the smartest thing, but to each his own. Like, I'm not going to look down upon someone who's not married, but I just think I don't know. I'd be interested to learn or see someone who's by themselves and actually like happy, like at 50 years old, or, I don't know. Like, I don't know. That's just kind of my thought. What's your thought on it?
Most it changed a lot. Views changed at I would say within the last 2 to 4 years. I have heard references that people live happier, longer lives in marriages than individuals who are at least divorced. I'm not sure about single completely. But like you said, I mean, when you're older, really like your children are going to be the ones that visit you, you hope.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing. And even for a spouse, like I have a grandma and a grandpa right now. My grandma's 92, grandpa's 93, and they're just together hammering out the end of their days. And if they didn't have each other, it would be tough. And if there is one day where one of them passed and the other one's still alive, that will be an incredibly, I can't even imagine.
Difficult.
Difficult.
For sure.
Been married since their 20s, 30s, 90s. Been married since they're in their 20s. Oh,
70 years old.
So
70 years, yeah.
Long. And I had a roommate a couple years ago, and he had a girlfriend, very steady girlfriend, high school, and this was post college. I believe they're still together. And me and him would go back and forth because at that time I was very pro being single, pro no children, pro. This was my first year out of college. Like I was just like, let me have an adventure.
Yeah.
So no responsibilities.
Yeah.
And we would debate about it. Just, is it worth your youth to spend your youth with someone that you might break up with at the end? And it's a tough decision. You did spend a large portion of your youth with someone that you ended up breaking up with.
I did.
How does that make you feel?
I don't know. Like, I think at points it makes me feel like sometimes I'm like, I wish like it was inevitable and I wish I would have done it sooner. But at other times I'm like, I look back and I did get a lot of valuable experiences out of it that I look back and do appreciate. I think a lot of times though, I look back and say I missed a lot, but that's also my own, like, so within my relationship now, I do what I want when I want, and nobody's controlling me, and she doesn't care. Like, whereas I didn't feel like I had the power to do so in that relationship. So it's like part of it's on me, but also part of it's on just the lack of like knowing how to be in relationships and how to communicate what I want. So I don't know, like I think there's a lot that I miss, but I think that's on me. And but at the same time, like not having that, now I know like, okay, I know what I want and I know how to communicate what I want. I know what I'm looking for. I know what I don't want. I've lived with someone now before. So like I know what that experience is like. It's interesting and it's not easy. And obviously it caused us to like really learn more about each other and break up. So I think like those experiences were very good and beneficial because now I can look at it and be like, have done this, and although it didn't work out, like I learned a lot, and no, like no ill will towards her at all. Like I think in a lot of ways she did really help me a lot. Like push me out of my comfort zone, make me do weird, like crazy things, like made me. She's a very driven person, and so she kind of helped me to like. She drove me to get my license. Like she did like random shit like that. Would always like kind of push me academically and like try to get a job. Like those things. Like I think now I'm like, shit, I need to do this stuff. But like back then, I didn't really feel like I had to do anything. I was just kind of like going with the flow. So I think like in a lot of regard, like I appreciate that because it did kind of instill something in me. So I don't know. That's how I look at it. It's like you can only take away the good stuff. You can't really go back. I benefited a lot. I think I learned a lot, and that's how I take it. It's like sucks that I lost some of my youth and years, but I still feel like it was a good experience overall.
That's that's good. And to be positive about it and to look back on it and say, find the things that you gained and what was helpful is huge.
For sure.
I mean, some people can be very bitter at the end of their relationship.
Yeah, and I mean, I've had my moments of bitterness, of course, but like I don't think it's gonna do anybody any good. Like I think we mutually agreed, and like obviously I kind of started that conversation, but we mutually agreed like part ways, and that's it. Like nothing you can do.
No, nothing you can do but part ways.
Yep. So at the end of the day, I think it was the best thing for each of us, for sure.
That's good.
Yeah.
And, I feel I've heard this quote where it's just like, if someone, all priests want to talk about is sex, and then all sex workers want to talk about is God. And that's kind of like this in the sense is that it's like if you are in if you're in a relationship, you might naturally be inclined to look at the other side and say, wow, look at all the great things that are going. The grass is for sure greener over there.
Yeah.
And then if you're single and it's just like you don't really have someone there, you don't have any emotional support, you don't have a comfort net, then you can look on the other side, the grass is way greener over there.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a mentality thing for, a relationship for sure, or, the debate between having a relationship or being single, most certainly. But that's also with, everything, a huge mentality thing. It's like, I can always be striving. That's something that I guess you talked about earlier. Rachel, your ex, made you strive to achieve things, which is like really good, but also really stressful.
Yeah.
At the same time. And if there's no balance, or even if there is balance, that stress still comes in, and it's really tough to maintain.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the one thing that I've started to do like with just a relationship, and I think like just I think the positive thing about like quarantine is like I've had a lot of time to just sit and reflect about some things. That's like I think the biggest benefit is like, and then just really thinking about like the relationships that I do value. Like I think there's a lot of relationships that I maybe had that were just kind of not, they're more like, hey, let's go drink together, not really have like good, deep conversations. Like that's cool. But like thinking about it now, like I look at it in a different way. I'm like, okay, one, do I care about this person that much to actually go and risk, not that I care that much about COVID, but like risk getting COVID? Or do I just like not care? But like really good friends and conversations, I'm like, hey, let's get together. I really enjoy your company. Like I enjoy our conversations. So I can like, I would risk it more if that makes sense. So I don't know if that plays a role. But anyways, what I was kind of referencing is I've done like a couple exercises. I don't know if I told you this, but I had a therapist that I went to for a while for no other reason, just to like work on me mentally and all that stuff. And one, it was a very positive experience, and I really feel like I learned a lot of myself. And one of the exercises I did was like writing out my values, and then basically what you do is you write out all your values, and then you like compare each one to each one, and you circle and figure out how many times you value this, and this, whatever. So I think like having that toolbox now and then like making decisions based off of that, I think is also very valuable, because it's like, is this more important or is that more important? And you kind of like can kind of use that as a guide moving forward. Any decision you make, relationships, friends, whatever. Like I think you can use that in a variety of different job. Exactly. Yeah. So I think it's a cool thing to use and like guide my decisions on moving forward too.
Do you still use it?
Mm-hmm. For sure.
What were some of the values you put down?
I actually have it right here. I'll pull it out.
Nice.
Family, health, loyalty, respect, drive and ambition, venture, career, advancement, security, and empathy. Those are all my 10.
Those are great.
Yeah.
Are those in order?
No, those are just like randomized. And then the ones I scored the highest on, or I circled the most, is family, health, advancement, and security.
That's good.
Yeah.
Good ratio between family and self.
Yes. So it was an interesting, cool exercise to do.
It's really important to understand our values. I have something similar. There was this CEO of some financial company who wrote a book. His name's Ray Dalio. It's called Principles.
Mm-hmm.
And he writes out a bunch of principles at the end. And I reference those. And they're very similar, and they're meant as a guide. And like you said, and one of your values is loyalty. That could be a huge determinant in relationship, job, anything. Most any sort of human to human contact that you have. Sure. And you just point to your values or your principles, and then it's the decision's already made.
Sure.
How to implement that though?
Which is kind of like what you talked about with like your job currently and your previous job. And I think we talked about this too. It's like the loyalty aspect. Like what do you value more, making more money or feeling appreciated? And you know what I mean? We talked about that. It's like the kind of the same. Yeah, security. Like those things are way more important than making more money, which is short term nice, but like long term, you're not going to be as happy or satisfied, I feel like.
No, not as happy or satisfied. The time during is going to be worse and more tough than if you were to go a route more aligned with values that you have. But it's like still, you can reference that, and I do reference my values or for me, I call them principles. But even maintain, like I still have to, contemplate decision making all the time, even when the choice is obvious. I had recently the opportunity to get a dog, and I was debating it for a couple days, and the choice is obvious. I should not get a dog.
Yeah.
At least not right now in this moment in my life. But, I still, going through it. And maybe if I actually I didn't even reference my principles, but maybe if I did, the choice would be obvious that I should get a dog, and that this obvious choice is actually wrong.
Isn't that obvious? Yeah.
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 But yes, I think reflection is huge. And a lot of people go through life with little to no reflection on, how their day to day is going, how
They're
they're
fucking robots.
robots,
Just going and doing the same thing over and over and watching
habitual
Netflix
robots.
and yes.
It's tough. It's not good.
And you can find yourself in that easily if you let yourself just go and I find myself sometimes in that too. And you have to do things that's why I love listening to podcasts, because it kind of just makes you think about different shit that you don't necessarily think about, because you can have we've talked about this too, but just being introspective and having different opinions and other people's opinions in your brain other than your own opinions, thinking your opinions are the right. I feel like that helps you break away from that habitual nature too.
Yes, it does. And, we're in a current state where people are not willing to listen to opinions that don't necessarily, not even not willing, they're very easily able to avoid those opinions. Whereas, before, in a tribe or a regular society post agricultural revolution, you were forced to be around people you didn't like every moment of your life. And now we have the opportunity to completely just ignore, blind ourselves from more than half of the world's opinions and voices, and it can really distort reality.
For sure.
Yes, in a way that you can't recognize, you don't really want to recognize, and it's tough to even maybe someone doesn't recognize it and they do actually want to be more well-rounded in their not ideals or knowledge or what they intake on a daily basis. They might be blinded to, they're not receiving moderate opinions, the opinions of everybody. They're really receiving the opinions of a very narrow spectrum of people that are all relatively from the same background.
Which is, and I don't know if you and I talked about this, but I think it was either you and I or Andrew and I, but talked about this, about how that's what the big issue of Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, all the everybody's feeds are based on what they interact with and what they like, and so that's what they're going to see majority of the time. So their other people's opinions are not going to be out there, and they're just going to be seeing all this stuff and reading all this stuff and thinking all of this stuff, when in reality there's so many other different ways of looking at things, but they're not privy to, because they don't have the opportunity to even see it because of automated, I don't know, it's all coding, basically, you're just programmed to have these things and ideals based on the ideals you already have. That makes sense.
Yes, it does. When I follow someone on Twitter, the next 3 suggestions are people that are as close as possible to that person.
Yep. For sure.
And they're not doing it because they necessarily want to do it. They probably, I don't know, but I do believe that it's something like intuitive. Like I see that I want to follow this person that does this sort of niche activity. And then there are three other people that also do that niche activity. Well, I started just getting into that. I might as well follow them too. Boom, boom, boom.
Yep.
It's like I do want to see a bunch of people range in this one specific area of whatever these people are well versed in, but that algorithms in the broader scheme of things make a lot of divisiveness within society. And I believe the printing press also, the printing press back in the 1600s was like back then today's social networking.
Social media, yeah.
Yes. And apparently there were similar sorts of niches of different printing presses printing out their version of whatever they wanted to print, another printing press doing their version of whatever they wanted to print. And the most famous one, Martin Luther, who found, I don't know exactly, I don't remember, but just had a huge part to play in the Protestant Reformation in Europe. Lots of wars between Catholics and various other branches of Christianity, possibly that started with monks such as Martin Luther being able to print their own doctrines and teach their own forms of Christianity. They didn't agree with the Catholic Church, so they started pushing out their own form and were able to do it with great effectiveness, have a huge range of influence because of this new form of media that was consumable on a huge scale, very similar to what social media is today, what the internet is today. And I hope that doesn't repeat itself. History doesn't repeat itself in that sense.
It's funny you said that. Like I'm laughing because like I feel like, well, two things. One, all those things you said, like I'm not 100% like I don't remember all that stuff, but I feel like it's like ringing a bell somewhat. Like I've heard of those things at one point or another when I was like in like sixth grade or something like that. But then it just sparked my idea, and like I'd be interested to like have us go back and like learn all those things that we learned when we were in sixth grade that we didn't really give a shit about, and like learn about it now, because I feel like that'd be very valuable. Because like stuff like that, you're absolutely right. Like it's history repeating itself, but just in a different form, and it's really interesting.
It is really interesting, dude. History, once you understand politics, is like, whoa, this matters, like huge deal.
For sure.
And even like with this new modernization of technology and internet and space travel and solar energy and the motorized car and all of this, it's just like still we have to reference history because we're human beings.
Mm-hmm.
And even with all of this incredible technology, some human being is going to do something very similar to what other human beings did in the past.
Yes.
And it will have some sort of effect that fairly similar.
Yeah, like I feel like in some regard too, we're too comfortable, like,
yes,
because you're right that like history could easily, like someone like, not that I'd love for this to happen, but easily like another Hitler could come about where it's just like he just, people would get behind him. And like not to say that Trump is Hitler by any means, and I don't want to get too political, but like I feel like that's what a lot of people are scared of, because he had a really big following that was very different type of people, I'd say, that were like very cult-ish, like in some regard, not everybody, but especially like out in the Midwest is a lot different than, I'd say, like maybe some California people who are more in it from the financial gain as opposed to like Trump, you know. I don't know if I make any sense in saying that, but I think that's what a lot of people are scared of. And I feel like he's kind of proving himself right, or proving everybody on that right, because he's not giving up. But anyways, yeah, it just makes me think about that, because that could easily like at some point happen, even though we're like, no, that could never happen. This is America. Like, who knows? Like, I don't know.
Honestly, it can happen anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, I think Americans have we see our country as being the greatest country in the world. It is the greatest country in the world, definitely the richest, the most powerful, highest quality of life for the largest majority of the population. I would say maybe some European countries have higher quality of life, but we have 350 million people. No European nation besides Russia has that many people, and it's not, their quality of life on an average scale is not close. But at the same time, it's, yeah, it could fall. Rome fell. It was a republic. Our founding fathers literally drafted the Declaration of Independence, after reading ancient Roman books and writing stuff. So that fell. I mean, and we have to look at it like that. Like, this can fall. Like, I travel. I mean, you can look at Iran, what Islam has, the ideals of Islam has done there. And, these ideals can travel. And if people are willing to, or able to isolate their thinking, which I believe they will be able to, because they're going to be, I believe a new app called Parler is coming out, because Twitter and a lot of other social media platforms have started to put warning signs or disputed signs, or even completely censoring. And now a new platform's popping up that says, hey, we're not going to censor you if you have certain sort of ideals, or really any ideals. And then so people are going to share there, and then maybe some ideals that they didn't really want from Instagram shifted over too. And then they're going, whoa, we don't want that though. You want to post that, you got to stay over on Instagram.
Yeah.
You can't come over here.
I'd never heard of that though. Parler.
Parler?
Yeah.
It's I saw it on Paul Saladino's.
Oh, really?
About it. Parler. I don't know how much traction.
LE or LOR?
Parler, or I don't know, maybe OR.
I think it's OR, but interesting.
It's probably OR.
Oh no, it's ER. Yeah, you're right.
Either way.
Interesting.
Well, people will go there and just not listen to other people, and it's madness. And yes. I don't think quarantine is helping very much.
No, unfortunately, I do not either, because people don't get to interact with other people, and they just get to sit behind a screen, which I don't think is great. No,
it's not great. It's very tough on some people. For me personally, I'm a software engineer, and my real value is added in writing code, writing, drawing diagrams, things like that. And it's like, you can't, do that 5 days a week, all
having interaction.
without interaction. I mean, even these like meetings, it's like only so much. And it's gonna have to budge in some way. I don't think it's sustainable in the long run. I just feel like there has to be a little bit more balance between the work from home, work in the office or something.
Yeah.
Because it's just so unnatural.
Yeah. It's interesting because, well, I want to talk about your job, but I have such a different perspective on it. So it's like, it's really funny that you say that, but I'm also like essentially living with my girlfriend, but even when I'm not, like, I have such a different perspective on it. But anyways, we'll talk about my perspective, but I'm interested to learn about like your perspective, because your job is not like customer focused, whereas more of like you said, you're writing code and you're doing like projects, and you're not speaking directly to clients. Maybe you are, I don't know, but like, are you speaking directly to clients, or is it just really sitting behind a computer a lot of times, like doing projects and writing code and doing all this stuff? Like, what does your job entail exactly?
So my client is the US government, the NAVWAR command of the US Navy. That entity handles communications systems for the Navy.
Mm-hmm.
And like radar to computer data throughput, radar tracks getting down to the sailor. And a lot, that is my client. And I do speak with my client as well as other software engineers that, we have to collaborate on. Actually, software engineering is a very collaborative environment, way more so than I think a lot of other forms of engineering have been in the past.
Interesting.
You have to, always be talking with people, always be, speaking with your program manager, speaking with other engineers who have part in your code. And we don't have a lot of people on our team, so it's not as necessary. But for, someone who's at Google or in a development team of like 10 people, I mean, there's a lot, or even more. It's a lot of talking, a lot of collaboration, a lot of interaction.
Which
And
I feel like that in person is way better for sure.
Way better.
Sure.
Exactly. And maybe not 5 days a week. That was a lot. That might have been too much.
Yeah.
But like 2 to 3 days a week of human interaction, and then maybe 2 to 3 days a week working from home is way more healthy. It's just being behind a screen is really the issue. It's more like, I would go to the office and I would still like, I should spend most of my day in front of the computer writing code, but the difference is like, I'd go on the trolley and I'd see 5 homeless people I see every single day that were there, Monday through Friday. Or I'd see the same person, with their child taking, somewhere to another bus. I'd see the same person every day. See the same hello to like some person that there were so many people just in my office, like at least 20 to 30 people in my office that I would just say hello to. Maybe like, it might have been a hello, it might have been a 1 to 2 minute conversation. But even those small interactions are huge. And now it's like those 20 to 30 people, I haven't even talked to them.
Yeah.
My real job has nothing really to do with them. So it's like I have my internal team and I still talk to them, but like all these like small little things, they accumulate over a day, over a week, over a month. And over this whole year, it's just like, I understand we have this viral disease. We have to, and it's growing in percentage of people that are affected currently. So we should, roll things back. But it's tough. It's really tough.
Yeah. I agree. I think like I have two different perspectives on it. Just work wise. Like you're absolutely right. Like I think having that interaction with humans is very beneficial. Like one thing I loved about my office is fucking awesome. And like we have like a ping pong table, we have like darts, like they served us food, like people I worked with, like you can wear whatever you want to work, like
That's nice.
like literally like a big TV area where people play games. Like it's a really cool environment. In the middle there's like a basketball court, and then you can watch like TV in the middle while you're working. Like it's kind of like that Google atmosphere. It's one of those types of offices. It's really awesome. So that was really cool. And then like people that work there are all like young and like doing stuff. So like having that interaction is cool. I feel like though, in regards to work, I get way more shit done on my own. And I also feel like there wasn't like you're absolutely like, I think I'd like to go in maybe like once a week, but I don't think there's any need to go into the office like outside of having personal interaction. And it's funny because we have a team that I work with, but I talk to them on the phone whenever I have something going on. They call me, I call them. So it's like we still talk. We have our way of talking. It's on the phone. It's quick, efficient. Like we're doing the same thing as if I was walking over to them and talking to them in the office anyways. So it's like we found a way to still be interactive with each other. And then on the other side, like I'm also talking to clients every day, all day. So that keeps me like interacting with humans in a way where I'm still like having interaction. I'm doing Zoom meetings, I'm presenting, and I'm still having human interaction and like seeing it's not in person, but I'm still kind of getting my fix of that. Whereas I'm interacting with random people I've never interacted with, but I'm having good dialogue with. On business level, but also on a human level too. So I think like I've gotten my fix because of that, and I've had to do way more and more Zoom meetings than I ever have, and I love it because I like doing that with clients as opposed to just talking to them on the phone that I previously would have. So I think that's like one thing I've gotten out of it that I appreciate. Like I love working from home. I think it's great because my schedule is very like I don't have like a work at 8 and then clock out at 5. Like I can start at 10 o'clock. I can start at 8 o'clock. Like whatever the fuck I want to do, I can start whenever I want. I can schedule meetings whenever I want. I can take off whenever I want. Like they don't really care as long as they get my shit done. And I'm held responsible by the numbers that I bring in. And if I don't bring in money, then I don't make money. So it's like, so for me, I'm like, I'm always wanting to work, but like I can also know I can die. Like right now, for example, it's a slower time of the year because we don't have as much business coming in because that period's like May to August, and obviously it's November right now, so it's a little bit slower. So I'm still doing stuff, but I'm not as like, back in May, June, July, August, my schedule was full every single day. Working till like 6 o'clock every day, just on my own time, just because I wanted to get shit done and catch up. And now it's like I can reap the benefit of like, okay, I can be a little bit more laxed and do what I want on my own schedule, still bring in money, but I got to be a little bit more efficient with how I do it. It's interesting because I've never had a role where it's been like that. I've always had to clock in, clock out. But like now as long as I get my shit done, my boss won't ever say anything to me. And I love it. It's like the best thing ever. The autonomy is amazing.
Autonomy?
Yes.
Having eyes over your shoulder?
For sure. And like the trust that he's going to get his shit done. And as long as he gets his shit done, I will not him. And
That's
I
huge.
think that's huge. Yeah.
And
it
you
makes
can't
me want to
break
work
that
harder.
trust.
No, for
Because
sure.
once that trust is broken,
Yeah.
like
For
your
sure.
job just turns awful.
Yep. I think I agree with that 100%. So I think like it holds me accountable because nobody's actually pushing me to do that. But like, I know, like you said, once I break that trust, then it's going to be like, it's not going to be on the same level that it is now. So I got to do what I can to keep maintaining it. So it's like, it's a way of pushing myself, which I love because nobody's pushing me, but in a way they kind of are, but not really, it's weird. It's like a mental, it's like a mind trick, but I love it.
No, I know what you mean. They're expecting something out of you, and I think you expect something out of you just because you want to please the group, which is how I feel. Like,
Yeah.
I want to please, it is my job. I'm getting paid, you're getting paid, and that's definitely going to need to keep on happening. But at the same time, I enjoy doing good work and being recognized for good work, and it adds value to my life.
100%. I completely agree. You feel like, you feel proud and you feel like you want to keep doing it. It's a good feeling. For sure.
It is a good feeling, and it adds, it's like that. How can you measure that in a dollar? You can't. It's like you can't measure that in a dollar, and it's one thing, that's why economics is so tricky. It's like there's so many different nuances of being human that do hold value, but to put a price on them, it's tough.
Yeah, I completely agree. So okay, in your job, I'm just curious, like, I've always like wondered, because obviously like engineering is like a good stable career to have, right?
Yes.
And you're probably, especially software engineering, you're probably never going to be having to look for a job too long. If you ever like, you're always going to have work, right? More often than not. At least I could be completely wrong on that. So please correct me if I'm wrong on that. But I'm curious, like, do you feel like fulfilled in that? Like, do you enjoy doing it, or is it something like, that just pays the bills, or like what's your mindset on that type of work? Like, I'm interested to learn about it.
It is fulfilling, I think, that I could, if I wanted to, kind of look at the negative things about my job and say, am I really making a difference in the long run? Am I just a cog in the wheel that's kind of pushing this thing that's not really going very far? Am I just, whatever, just kind of another piece? But I don't really look at it like that. I kind of look at it from a higher perspective down. The warfighter's perspective, from, the US Navy's perspective, from America's perspective, and that drives me a lot more than if I were to look at it from the way I described earlier, which was me sitting in front of a computer writing code.
Yeah.
Writing, drawing these drawings all day. I look at it in more of, I'm part of this unit, this system called the Department of Defense. I'm not actually part of it. I'm a contractor and I work very closely with civilian workers. But at the same time, private contracts are a huge part, and have been a huge part of the US government's way of doing business for a long time. So I am a part of this system known as the Department of Defense that has this huge goal, and that goal might be, misguided. A lot of people think, especially a lot of people our age from California, the West Coast, don't have great opinions, or I would say opinions on the Department of Defense. So I understand people who question that, but I do see it as when I look down, from this larger perspective of this is a system for maintaining the stability within America. This is a system that is a huge unit. Like the US government is a community in and itself. I mean, granted, there's hundreds of thousands of members of that community.
Yeah.
It is a community, and that's something that has added a lot of value to me being here. Is like a lot of the military folk that I meet, a lot of the, people that are still enlisted are some of the most genuine, respectable, class act people I've met.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily kind of how we were thought to how the US Navy was portrayed to us in our youth, or the US military was portrayed to us in our youth. Like, especially out on, the West Coast, I feel like it's a little bit different than it was maybe in the Midwest or in the South. But I do gain some sort of appreciation and value from that perspective of, I am a software engineer. I am staring in front of a computer all day, but at the end of the day, this is meant for a much larger purpose, not just a much larger purpose, but a purpose that will serve many other people.
Yeah.
Which is what drives me, like we spoke about it a couple minutes ago, just being recognized for good work. And in that sense, it is rewarding. Day to day is tough, and and recognizing that has been way tougher than when we were in the office. When we were in the office, like, you just talk to people, and then you'd see the warfighter. You'd see, I'd go on base, and then I'd go, talk to the captain, or talk to some civilian worker who was a veteran for 20 years, and you gain a very different perspective on what this is all about, what you're doing it for, who this product goes to at the end of the day, which is huge. Like, I don't see it as just for myself, I don't see it as just kind of getting this done to get it done, but at the end of the day, this is going to probably a young individual on a boat who was just tasked with being in charge of some system that is really complex.
Yeah.
And he's just fresh out of high school, or maybe a couple years out of high school. So I think that's the way I try to think about it.
That's an interesting, go ahead.
No, you go.
That's really interesting point of view and perspective. And I guess I wasn't really versed on okay, you actually get to meet those people and talk to them, and I'm assuming you talk to them to help them learn about or do you just do it just to have interactions with them?
No, that's just the day-to-day. My boss, actually my current boss, is, an ex-naval captain, was in the Army Reserve for decades, and right now he's out of, he's just a veteran, working as a contractor. But no, I don't explain it to them necessarily. I think the job of a lot of engineers for the U.S. Navy is to simplify things as much as possible, because there's so many different players in there, and there's so many different aspects of, just the Department of Defense, and especially within what I do, which is a lot of cybersecurity, that if we were to get down the weeds every single time, it's really tough, and you could do that and lose yourself. But really, it's all about simplifying.
That's crazy.
So, yeah.
That's cool. That's I didn't really ever think about that. That's cool though. I didn't know. So like, cause like, I think I think previously, like my last job, for example, I don't really know I kind of just looked for growing as it's like what I looked for is like, okay, I'm growing in the company, but I didn't really know what else like motivated me. And like, I think doing well, getting praise, all that stuff. But for me now, like being in like a sales type role, I think like what motivates me is like making, like, being number one and being at the top of the leaderboard. Like that's my main goal. But then two is like making money, like, and not necessarily making money, but like more being responsible for what I take in. Like that's 100% on me. Like if I don't make the more money, that's me, and if I do, like that's also me. So I think that's kind of cool. I'm in control of my own destiny. But I always like wonder what drives people who aren't in like a role like that, because obviously it takes a little bit more to be motivated to do it on a daily basis. But I think if you find that, like you do, like you said, I think it's a cool way of looking at it.
It is, yes, it is a cool way, and scary, because
For sure,
looking at it from any other way, I mean, you have your motivations, and you're able to gain more if you do better. And sometimes for salary, that I feel like for salary it still does in some way, like you can get your raise at the end or whatnot. But
I was gonna say, do you get like incentivized for certain things, or you just like you have to bust your ass to the year, and at the end of the year you could get like a bonus or a raise, and that's it? Or like, do you get certain incentives throughout the year?
mostly bonus and raise. I think there are incentives. I know at my previous company I got a few incentives for handling some projects well. I'm sure there are. I know that, someone was employed for 10 years and there was a pretty nice incentive for that. But I think mostly the raise and the bonus every year, for me, is what, I got.
Yeah.
It's a little different for government employees, because they have a strict raising scale. They can only make so much more the next year and the next year, and then at a certain time it's capped.
But they also get pension, right? All that
Yes,
stuff.
at the end.
Yeah.
For 20 plus years, I think. But it's for them, it's really different. Whereas private corps can still, you can leave and go to another corporation and make $20,000 more on the spot right there. And that's kind of the ups and balances. Like you stay as in a government position, and you can be, in a pension till you die, or you can make a small raise immediately.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about doing that?
Join government?
Going that? Yeah.
No, not soon. It's not for me. Maybe one day, but yeah,
Yeah. I can't imagine. That would be crazy.
no. Michael, do you have anything you'd like to say?
No, but we should do this more regularly, like get more of a like monthly or something, because I always enjoy the conversations for sure.
Yes, I do too. And I'm down for monthly. This was
Yeah.
easy once we got the
Once you got into it, yeah.
Zoom.
Yeah. Because like I feel like there's so many different other directions that we could have taken to that I'd love to take next time.
Oh, conversation? Absolutely. We didn't even get into nutrition or fitness.
Yes, that, and then yeah, there's like a billion other things that you could talk about, but
There are many. Till next time, Bill.
all right, man. Sounds good.
All right. Talk to you later.
All right, later.
Good timing. Good timing. Thank you.